part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action. This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright. You're listening to The Krypton Report.
Shazam! That's right. The Krypton Report has now been taken over by Shazam. You know why? Because Shazam is now out on digital. That's right. This is me, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow, with my homeboy, James, the Superman of Red, the Man of Steel. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
My kids have decided to adopt all the lingo, all the slang lingo that I hear from my teenagers every day at work.
Oh, Lord.
And I've been called, bruh, dude, like all this. I'm like, what? You guys are driving me crazy. I'm so glad their spring break's over.
Yeah, no, my kids aren't allowed to call me that.
So I'm just looking at them like, I call my kids dude anyways, but it's the way they say it. Like, it's with this faux accent. Like, you're not, whatever, man. Solomon looks like he's doing a really bad Taika Waititi impression of Korg. That's what he sounds like. And I'm like,
dude, once in a while, depending on its context, I guess, is kind of like it, but no, like, you don't call me bruh. Kids, you don't call me bruh. Like,
when they crack open my Mandarin orange,
but you don't call me that. Like,
right.
I put my foot down on you kids.
So happy belated Easter. We were going to record this right before Easter, but poor James, his family's been fighting the sickness, and I have a little bit of a congestion and sinus. That's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Welcome to Ohio.
It was awful, man. The baby was sick starting like 3 a.m. Friday morning.
Did you say baby?
She's going to be 18. She's going to be 18 months. She's going to be 18 months.
It must be 3 a.m. and I'm lonely.
Yeah.
Or sooner from Matchbox 20.
Yeah.
I said, baby.
Hey, I know that album. I played that album the crap out of it when it was new.
Dude, that was a great album.
It was. That was a great album. I would still listen to it.
Dude, I listened to Push the other day. It's still such a good that intro guitar riff is so good. And The Real World. But this isn't the Matchbox 20 podcast. So as we started this, I had pre-ordered Shazam Fury of the Gods because the kids really loved it. They wanted to go see it again. I just don't have the time to go to the theater again. It's just much cheaper to just buy it on digital and let them watch it than trying to get back to the theater. And it was supposed to come out like at the 18th of this month. But then they bumped it to last Friday the 7th. And all of a sudden I get this alert. It's like, your pre-order is ready. Boom, there it is. And the only thing I can think of is they did for Shazam kind of like they did with Black Adam, where they dropped Black Adam digitally for Thanksgiving so that people at home on Thanksgiving could watch it. And kind of with Shazam, they dropped it early and people could watch it at home over Easter.
Yeah.
And I heard it's been doing well. We watched it with my brother-in-law and his, 4 kids. So they loved it because they hadn't seen it. They hadn't had a chance to go. So, that made it worth owning right there just to watch with the family.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing, getting a chance to go. You know what I mean? I'm betting they're doing fairly well releasing these movies on streaming for the holidays.
Yeah.
A lot of people sitting around with families or at home, they eat a lot of food or something, got time off. They can see a new movie and they don't have to go to the theater.
Right. And like I said, if we would have went or he would have got to go, the cost of taking the kids and then if they went, it was just cheaper to own it. And it's cool because I sat down and started watching I watched all the deleted scenes.
Ooh, excellent.
And there's a couple on there that we all agreed they could have left in. There's a couple that were good deleted scenes, but I feel like if those scenes were in the film, they need to have a little bit more wrap up just because they were a little bit more subplotty. That makes weird subplotty, but it expands on some minor comments that are made in the movie, and it kind of starts to create subplots that I don't think they would have been able to pay off.
Well,
but I'm going to watch all the making of and.
Well, what I said I felt like with that movie, same thing I felt like with Black Adam is I think there was a lot more there, and they were just cut down to like the bare minimum. And
I feel like my thinking about it more and more storytelling wise. What? You still there, James?
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna get cut off for a second. I really feel like Black Adam should not have done Sabbac. They should have built up to a Sabbac like for a sequel of Black Adam. And Black Adam should have been more of a stronger antagonist. And maybe it shouldn't have been the whole Justice Society, maybe just Dr. Fate and Hawkman. They should have like made it a little bit smaller, I think, because I feel like they were putting way too much in that movie to really and that's one thing I think that works so much with the first Shazam. It is small and simple, that we got to enjoy the characters and get to know them. And it wasn't just like spectacle. But, not much you can do now. But yeah, Shazam's out, and it's been great to watch again. Like, the kids are loving it. Solomon came in the other day, just burst into my bedroom, started and was singing, "I need a hero. I'm holding out for a hero." Like, he was doing that. And then earlier I was making dinner, and he walks by me, slaps me on my shoulder, and goes, "This is my partner, Captain Every Power Jr." And Janita's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Huh?" He's like, "You gotcha." So he's definitely living it up and enjoying the film, which is what the film was made to be. So,
all right, can you hear me?
All right, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm having some little computer issues here, so I just want to make sure I'm not losing you.
No, you're good. But James, you forever will now be
I'm going to be forever what?
Captain Every Power Jr.
Ah, okay. Well,
no, that's Brian.
when you guys changed the group chat names, and I think it was Brian who changed me to Captain Every Power Jr.
Yeah.
I changed it to Captain Marvel. I was like, might as well do it.
But I guess his name's coming back in the comics with the Dawn of DC and the Mark Waid run that's coming. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But we don't have a whole lot of news to get through here. One thing that we kind of missed, it was mentioned that Clayface is supposed to be in the Batman 2. Cool. That was a character that we had talked about before. I think you can make Clayface kind of work with him having the makeup he puts on, like a mud mask almost. And then eventually it starts to, destroy his.
Yeah, I mean, Clayface, I know there's a number of Clayfaces that they could choose from. I mean, he ranges from a guy who's almost like a master of disguise to like a Gotham guy who can mold his face to a gigantic clay monster from the comics and cartoons who can just like generate giant weaponry and all that type of stuff. And I mean, from what it appears, like that's not that certainly is not the world that the Reeves Batman universe seems to take place in.
But just having some sort of makeup like product to put on, I think could really work. I think I don't know, something about it. I feel like it could work.
Well, so the thing that I did appreciate about the Batman is there was a bit of like super science in the movie, but they didn't feel the need to explain it.
Yeah.
It was just there. It just existed, which I feel is kind of what you need to do when it comes to Batman. Like, yeah, he's a grounded character, but he's in a world that's not.
If Matt Reeves really wanted to impress me, he would do the Phantasm.
So, I mean, that definitely could work. I think maybe in a very different way.
Impressed me.
I don't know. In certain respects, could be a very different way. In certain respects, maybe the same.
Okay, so let's see what else we got here. Weird sound effects. I'm trying to go through my notes. Oh, this is crazy, but I get it. I've thought about it. So, Joker 2 has finished filming. The movie comes out October of 2024. Now, it's crazy that it's finished filming now. It's a film that's not heavy on post-production. And just, I was thinking about it, they filmed it now, but my thought process is they're going to release it when they can best make a profit. You know, like they're strategically placing it so that they have things at each quarter that's going to be a profit. But that's still, like, it definitely has the fall feel. Like, I appreciate that's coming out in fall. I think it fits the tone. It'll be the movie that I'll take Jania to see for her birthday, because her birthday is the 2nd. Just like we kind of went and saw the 1st. But man, that's still a year and a half out. I already see people trying to say Lady Gaga's a better Harley than Margot Robbie.
Yeah. Well, you know, people can just tell these kinds of things from behind the scenes photos.
Yeah, for real. It's just like, I think watching.
You know, I mean, like, what are we doing all the time? Enjoying ourselves watching these movies and talking about them when everything can be deciphered from, you know, behind the scenes photos.
Yeah, exactly. But that's just, it's just kind of like, okay, oh well, you know, it's done. Hey, it's coming. But like we said, it's, you know, they're being strategic about it because it is the only kind of DC property in 2024 that we know of. Kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 4 movies coming out this year. They've got a world that a universe that they're trying to transition into, and as far as we know, nothing set to hit come 2024. So, I mean, hold it back a little bit. I mean, a year and a half all the way to October is a long time, but also it did extremely well when it was dropped then, and I think, you know, they're picking a good spot, like they did, like it worked last time. You know, I think people are gonna want to see this. A lot of people saw the first one clearly, so this one's gonna at least get a good turnout, at least to start, from, you know, the good graces from the first film.
I agree.
You know, it may not be like. The first film was a fantastic made film and very cerebral.
It's a feel-good movie.
Yeah, excellent feel-good movie. Yeah. But it's kind of a deconstruction of what people can kind of feel like relate to a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Just that feeling outside of everything. You know, it was very relatable in that way. And it is not a feel-good movie whatsoever.
No.
But it is a very good movie. So.
And I say it's kind of the only film in 2024 because Aquaman has been moved up from December 25th to December 20th of 2023, which I'm very happy with. Not just that it's coming out sooner. I don't like when movies open on Christmas Day, especially like that. Because I'm going to be busy on Christmas Day. You know, like we watched Wonder Woman when it hit HBO Max on Christmas Day at night.
Why? Because you were at home.
Yeah. I don't want the tension of trying to deal with all the holiday stuff and go see Aquaman. or go see it on Christmas Eve. That's not cool. But coming out the 20th, that's perfect. That's, a few days before we'll be out on break, so that'll work out lovely.
Yes, sir.
I'll be able to take the family to the early showing, So that'll work out nicely. And, it's 5 days. That's a big deal, So Aquaman 2. All right.
Aquaman 2. I'm looking forward to Aquaman 2, I enjoyed the first one. I'm looking forward to the second one.
James was a stunt double, and on Aquaman 2, he played the ocean. True story. Peacemaker. So it's been Peacemaker season 2 will not come until after James Gunn is finished with Superman Legacy. So I really think we need to look at this Waller Caesar as like Peacemaker, 1.5. And then we'll just kind of see what happens with Peacemaker season 2. That's still, a little whiles down the road.
This is true.
Because by the time that he gets done with Superman Legacy, and it just says when I'm done with Superman Legacy, it doesn't mean that by the time it comes out. So it means that after he films it, maybe while it's in post or something, or, he might just give the reins more to Peacemaker 2 to other people as he gets into things. So I'm not really holding my breath for Peacemaker season 2. I enjoyed the first season. I enjoyed John Cena as Peacemaker and everything. But we'll see. We have the Waller series coming and stuff. We'll just kind of see how things go. We also learned that a little bit of details that was on the Lego Batman 2 movie that was canceled. I didn't even know this movie was canceled. I just assumed they just never made a sequel to it, or didn't really have plans for it. But it was going to be more about the relationship and between Batman and Superman. So, and as most people know, I'm not really a big fan of the Lego Batman movie. Sorry.
I loved the Lego Batman movie, so that probably would have been hysterical because hopefully they would have got Channing Tatum back for Superman like he was in Lego Batman. And he would have had that, and that would have been I don't know. That would have been something else. He only had a little bit in Lego Batman, but if he had a good chunk of a movie.
Yeah. And the last news bit that we have is we got a 16-second clip tease of My Adventures with Superman. James, what did you think of the new Superman cartoon we're getting?
Very anime. Looked really good. I like the animation style. There wasn't a whole lot else to, pull out of it.
Yeah.
Like you said, 16 seconds. It was some clips and a couple of character look ats. So it was mostly, honestly, the most you could get from it is mostly the animation.
So it reminds me of the Spider-Man series, the recent Spider-Man cartoon that's on Disney Plus, where I can't remember if it's called like Marvel Spider-Man or something. With it's where Peter's there with Miles, and they're both teenagers, and they go to Horizon High.
I've never seen this one.
You check it out on Disney Plus, watch an episode. That's what the animation reminds me of.
I'm betting Titus and the other boys have seen it.
We've watched a couple episodes of it. Let's see. Oh snap! Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Let's see here. What is this? Nothing. I thought I got tagged in something cool. Nothing.
Nothing.
I was like, yay us, but it wasn't. But it looks good. So I read a press release that it's supposed to be more of a family show. And I guess this is something their Adult Swim is not like Adult Swim mature content, but something that's more for everyone or something. I don't know. It's weird. But it's supposed to be a show that you can watch as a family. So I'm curious about it. What do you think about the S symbol? I don't like it. I'll be honest. I don't like it.
You know what? Do you have a picture of it?
Do I have a picture of it? Yep.
I ask because I'm fairly certain you have one you could send me pretty quick. There it is.
It's a little too blocky. Like, it's if it's the same kind of S that's in the logo of the title card, but it's just a little bit more. It kind of reminds me of like a Kingdom Come style, where it's not a really protruding, more S shaped. And I know it's not supposed to be an S, but at the same time, it's supposed to wink wink be an S at the same time.
Yeah. It's supposed to, like you said, wink wink. It seems like maybe this isn't like the image you would pick to put in your first spot if it was like lacking. Animation makes mistakes when they do transition shots back and forth, those types of things, and you'll see where like sometimes like maybe this yellow up here where it would be to kind of curve the top of the S would be, or like there might be more of a curve to the S in here somewhere.
True. We'll see.
But you would think that because it's so short that frame would be looked at a little more.
I agree.
And not be the one that's used. So
yeah, we'll see. But all right, so let's comics. Did you read The World's Finest number 12?
I did. The date between Supergirl and Robin.
It was fun. It was like a refresher having, ended the big Devil Neza arc and everything, and this was just kind of this flashback where it's focusing on the first time that Robin goes on a date with Supergirl and how he shows up as Robin because they hadn't really met as their secret identities, and she's kind of like, oh, and he like left his money, he was going to pay for it, like everything that could go wrong on this date went wrong. And it was just a kind of a funny kind of quote unquote look at their real people, like, oh, this is how a date would go, or when you're with Supergirl. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm looking at the the teaser trailer real quick. Yeah, the S is a little blocky. It even has it as like the S on the name. But it's definitely a unique slant to it,
Mm-hmm.
In certain shots it looks okay, and that one shot you sent me, it doesn't look that good.
Yeah. All right, so the big comic book for this week, John Kent, Superman number 2. You got that pulled up?
Yeah, I was. So are you done with number 12 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I do have John Kent pulled up.
All right. So, first thing, like I said with these, I do notice the paper, like we were talking about before, it's feeling more newspapery. But the book starts with, John back in the volcano. And I'll let you lead this one. You go ahead. I don't want to cough. So you go.
I'm guessing that it's supposed to be maybe 5 years. Or it just says years. He kept me imprisoned in a volcano. We've got John imprisoned in the volcano by Ultraman. And then we come back to the Fortress of Solitude now. Jay and Lois are discussing how they kind of deal with Superman saving the day. Lois discussing her very unhealthy habit of working to exhaustion on a story, trying to do her own right, setting wrong things right. And we got Lois Red Tornado is using Mr. Terrific's quantum tunnel technology to search the multiverse, and they're looking for Ultraman because he's killing Superman, he's killing Clarks all over the multiverse. And the only problem being able to locate him is when he jumps, and when he jumps is after he's killed someone. So they know that when they locate him, he will have killed another Clark Kent, another Superman. John breaks the Phantom Zone projector out of his dad's vault. So Ultraman jumps and they have to leave. He says goodbyes to Lois. Lois sends a message off with him. He says goodbye to Jay. And I like this. Jay makes him promise to come home because Lois says, make him promise to come home because Superman never breaks a promise. So John says, I promise. Val, John, and Red Tornado enter another Earth. They're looking for Ultraman. They're discussing other John Kents around the multiverse, and they do talk about John Kent from the Deceased universe.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Got nod from Tom Taylor.
Referencing.
What's that?
Referencing himself.
Referencing himself. Well, I mean, he's pulling in all of his characters in this run. It's kind of why I love it. You know, it's very referential to so many things. Going all the way back to New 52. You know? And it references things he's written and some things he hasn't. Like the age up of John being held in the volcano. But they're searching for Ultraman. Red Tornado locates him, and he blasts through Red Tornado, blows her into pieces. And Val Zod goes to rescue her, and says Ultraman, and him and John get into a big fight. He knocks John out of the sky. He picks up the Phantom Zone projector, and he uses it on Val Zod and Red Tornado, sending them to the Phantom Zone. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing the Phantom Zone is one place, doesn't matter what multiverse you're in.
That makes sense.
Right?
It's interesting.
It's supposed to be outside of space and time. It's supposed to be its own dimension. So you could access it from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Works.
He says, John, don't let him win. John, are you my John? He says, I was never your John. Hits him with a nice heat vision blast.
That's like fire vision.
Yeah. Enough to cause burns on his body, singe his clothes, wreck his clothes pretty good. He says, but I won't be using this again, and you're still holding back because you have the same weakness as your father, compassion. You'll never be able to defeat me if you're not prepared to kill. He says, you're wrong. He says, what are you going to do about it? I feel it raging inside me. Feel it taking hold, something I've been holding back, and I finally let it out. And John is changing into his electric John, his electric Superman.
It's like the electric slide.
Yeah. And he freaking wrecks Ultraman. He says, you think compassion is a weakness? I can't think of anything weaker than only caring for yourself. Practically invulnerable and still ruled by fear. All that power and absolutely no strength. And as quickly as the power came, it fades away and it takes John with him. He used up all the energy he had. Ultraman kind of recovering from his hit. He says, that is the hardest I've ever been hit by anyone, and I pissed off a lot of powerful people in a lot of dimensions. Says he's not going to kill him, but take him back to the volcano so he can keep him and play with him. He says, but I'm certainly taking this personally. I usually don't bother with the louses, but I'll make an exception on your world. I'll make sure your Lois suffers. And you got a whoosh, no you won't. And Injustice Superman snapping Ultraman's neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Ultraman was going to be more of a big bad.
Dude, that was the thing. I was like, wait a minute. So the whole promise of this Val Zod John Kent story,
getting the chance to face down his captor,
is over.
I know, right?
Like, in issue 2.
Yeah, I know. I was not expecting that.
I was expecting at least, them to fight, then they get away, and, standard kind of like we come back to fight him again. But nope, Injustice Superman showed up, or they're on the Injustice world or something.
I think they're on the Injustice world. I think Ultraman came here to kill this Superman, which would have been awesome to see this battle, because this Superman is like the Ultraman of his world, almost to a degree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that would have been amazing to see them, but no, he just snaps his neck. But you know what? He did it because he said, I'll make sure your Lois suffers. He said your Lois is going to suffer, and this Superman was not having that.
No,
everything this Superman has done was because he was made to kill his Lois.
And he says, you have your mother's eyes. And that's the last page.
With a tear in his eyes. Well, because he killed his Lois, who was pregnant with his child.
Yep.
This is like him seeing his child, but from another world. And what is John gonna think of this? This is gonna be interesting.
I mean, that was a great book.
Yeah, it was. I'm so surprised though. I'm still so surprised that Ultraman's already dead.
I know, it was like a big build up, he's gonna go after Ultraman.
I so want to see more of this power. Does John have to train to be able to, or is this his solar flare? You know what I mean? What is this? Does he have to train to be able to utilize this power so it doesn't drain him of everything? Or is it going to be his solar flare that he can knock out another Kryptonian, but it'll put him down for the count?
I'm thinking it's kind of like a mixture of the electrical powers and solar flare. All right. We're going to press pause and hear a few words from our other podcasts on Press Play Podcast Network.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough Super Talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Before we start this episode of Krypton Report, I want to take a moment and just give a shout out here to our Patreon. I know what you're thinking. Gosh, everyone's asking for money, and I get it. But our Patreon is only $1. $1 a month that helps us keep the podcast going. And what we do is we try to find interesting shows and topics and whatever we want to talk about. We've done, as of this little thing, our last recordings were on the Scream series. Brian and Tyler, that's me, do our own show where we record in the car, and it's kind of funny. And we talk about pop culture or whatever is going on. We also have the Supernatural podcast we've been reworking. It's taken some time just because of life. But we do movie commentaries as well. It's something that James and I have done, what we used to do on the main show that we've started doing here. So for $1 a month on our Patreon, you can get those shows. There's at least 4 a month. Also, there's my movie pitch show that I do. But also, what we want is if you're a Patreon, you can come on. You can come on the main show if you want. Or if there's something you want to come on and talk about, we can do it as a Patreon special. So all I want is for $1 a month, think about chipping in, joining our Patreon, and you have a voice to be a part of things. Follow the link in the link tree or in the show notes below, patreon.com/Krypton Report.
This is Dan Jurgens, and if you want to have a good time, keep listening to the Krypton Report.
Right.
But also, I can't wait. I hope Val-Zod gets out of the Phantom Zone soon. I'm happy to see him back.
I agree.
And McFarlane needs to make that figure.
Of Val-Zod?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on our list.
It is.
So the last part of our episode tonight will be Superman and Lois, Season 3, Episode 4, Too Close to Home. And a quick summary is, Lois interrupts an intense conversation between Clark and John Henry. Kyle tries to run interference between Sarah and Lana, and Jonathan has a heated discussion with Candace's dad. All right. James.
Tyler. I don't know if you want to jump to it or, I'm just going to throw it out there now. Man of Steel moment and leave it there. And we can get to it when we get to it.
It's just, it's just.
It had Jamie jumping in my chair, man.
Let's just get to it. Because I'm letting you talk more. I'm losing my voice here. So you talk more. Let's go.
Okay. Well, so we'll go to get there. We'll start with Jonathan. So at this point, Lois has had her chemotherapy. She's had her first round of chemo, and this is supposed to be a day of recovery. So it starts off with the boys arguing over a hoodie. Obviously, something brothers do, but something that Clark is not having right now. Tells them to get out of the house. So Jordan goes with Grandpa, and Jonathan goes to see Candace. He goes to Candace's house, and it doesn't appear that she's home, but he talks to her dad. And he stands up to him. He stole his truck. He had his mother's watch. We know what happened. But of course, like any criminal, really, he's just denying it. Even though he did it, he's just denying it. And he ends up punching John in the face. And John goes home. Lois discusses what happens, and they end up. Lois and Clark are trying to find out what happens. Clark needs to run off to the DOD, and Lois finally gets out of the boys what happened. They talk about the truck being stolen and everything, and then Lois takes the boys over to Candace's dad's house. Emmett Pergrini or something like that.
Douchebag. That's what I call
yeah. And Lois goes over there. And he starts threatening Lois, and he threatens her with a gun. She stands up to him, but they leave. And she gets dizzy. She falls down. The boys are really, there to comfort for her mom. Clark finally comes back, and Clark talks to them, and they find out that he's the one who punched Jonathan. He stole the truck, and he threatened Lois with a gun. He's leaving the house, and Lois says, I took care of it. This is not a job for Superman. And Clark says, he's not the one who's going.
I loved it.
Yeah. Freaking Jamie got stir crazy. Oh. We go to the diner where Kyle, Lana, and Sarah are, who just had some stuff going on, and we'll talk about them. But Clark comes in and tells him that they need to talk outside. He's being a douchebag. Clark says, I really don't want to do this in front of your daughter. And he says, you think she hasn't seen this before, and tries to shove Clark. And we get that Man of Steel moment where, you know, like
He doesn't move.
you're trying to move a building. You know what I mean? It's like if you tried to shove a building as hard as you can, you're only going backwards. He doesn't budge. And then he swings on him, and Clark dodges him, grabs him, and puts him face down on the bar, on the countertop, and tells him that he knows who he is. If he does anything, he's coming after him, and that Lois is going to expose him, and he's going to that he's going to go away. He's going to go to prison. And he tells him to leave. Oh, God, that movie. It was so good.
The only thing that was missing was a slight sound of some bones starting to crack as Clark just put pressure on his back right there in his neck. I love the whole scene, and then I love when Clark walks in and Lana goes, Clark, is everything okay? He goes, nope. And he walks over to it. And I loved, like, Jania part she loved is if you watch, Kyle gets up. Like, Kyle's got his back. He don't even know what's going on. But, you know, Kyle gets up to support Clark. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
But dude, when he said that to Clark, I was like, yeah, but I love the fact that Kyle was gonna back him up, you know? And Lana stops Kyle like, nah, he's okay. He's got this. Yeah, they could have. Yeah. I think out of the three scenes that people are comparing,
to everyone, you know,
the
sorry
scene
for
here,
ruining your dinner,
the scene from Superman 2, and the
Jamie
Man of Steel
just
scene.
like, you know what? Everybody was just
I think
like,
this is my favorite.
It's cool.
Man of Steel is second.
Nobody
and
liked
Superman
him
2 is
anyways.
The Superman 2 is
Like, we've all been wishing he would go somewhere.
If I remember, my cuts kind of get blurred a little bit when I think about certain things. Doesn't he go back to the diner after he spun the Earth backwards? And the diner, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, because in the Lester cut, you don't have the world spinning backwards.
You know what? In the Donner cut, I'm not sure.
But I mean, he goes back and
because
it's a great scene.
I know for a fact in the Lester, he just goes back after he's got his powers back.
Finally, good. I like it. We can talk about it more later.
I actually have to watch the Donner cut. I've never seen it myself. But I bought that Blu-ray set.
You got to remember the one thing about the Donner cut is when it starts, it's starting with the end of the first Superman movie.
I've wanted to see it
because
forever.
the first Superman it's starting where
and I know it's got
he would have
cuts
how he would have
like,
ended the first Superman movie. So the first part of it is technically the end of Superman 1 before his Superman 2
chemistry tests
starts.
and stuff.
Because it has to fix what was released theatrically. But I just, he's like, oh, sorry about the damages, and he's like, oh, I've been working out. Like, that's cool. But, it's also, I'd never really liked Margot Kidder and his relationship with him as Lois. Cause I felt like she was just using him. But whatever. That's another conversation. But here, it's Clark standing up. And, in Man of Steel, it's a great moment because he's holding back, and he's angry. He's upset the way the guy's treating him, dumping the beer on him, which is great. But here, he's got that father rage. Like he hit his son. So it's taking more of him to hold back than it is like, how like in Scrubs, they would do that scene where it's like something would
Oh,
happen,
yeah,
but you
Lana-
cut back and it was
Lana
what they were
asks
imagining
Clark,
happening.
Is everything okay,
And then
or
we see-
are you okay?
Yeah, I could have used like
And
a
he
couple of
says-
scenes like that in this. One, Clark walks in, grabs a guy, takes him to the Arctic. One, Clark walks in, heat vision, and melts him. You know, like just. One Clark walks in, just rips both his arms off, and just stands there and lets him
Right.
just bleed out. Like, like, you like that? How about this, sir? You hit me, then I get to hit you.
Yeah, incinerates him like into
But no,
ash
you
right in
just
front of
see,
everybody.
like, he was
Yeah.
shaking, holding back. Like, I almost wish that we would have had like that kind of scene, you know, like in
Right.
Man of Steel when he's the kid and he gets he's holding back when they're hitting him and he bends the fence where he's holding onto it so tight. Yeah. But oh man, that was a scene that just makes you proud. Makes you proud.
Yeah, the metal fence post. Yeah, he just crushes it.
And then I love when Clark goes home or like and he
Yeah,
loses his
it's.
hearing.
I mean,
He's
it's
crossing the
highlight
county
of
line.
this episode, entirely.
Well, been funny if you would be like, hold on, and he just like darted
we
out.
rewound it
Like,
after
and then
we
saw him,
finished
like,
the
in front of the
episode.
truck, and he's like, huh?
We went back and watched it
And he's
again.
like, and then he just
Watched
gives the
that
guy like,
scene
"I'm
again.
watching you, eyes." Like, I don't know.
That was fast. Yeah. Yeah, so fantastic part of the episode. Jordan, let's jump back into Jordan. He
Because he got caught on a satellite.
he doesn't have as much going on in this episode. He goes off with his grandpa to go fishing, and he's been training with grandpa, and he says that he needs a haircut. That his hairstyle is like too identifiable. Yeah. So he's worried about him getting seen, getting identified, and he takes him to go get a haircut.
He's a teenager yelling at his
And
grandpa.
John tells him that he's not a hero or anything. Like, like, one, he's your grandpa. You know he's a 4-star general. Like,
I love that. He said,
this
"I'm
was
a
just like a
4-star
stupid
general."
moment. Yeah. I mean, I don't mean like stupid as in like I couldn't see it. I just like, wow, like that was a stupid thing to do, like to your 4-star general grandfather. Yeah. So yeah, he does that, he what's really cool is the opening of the episode with Jordan. Jump back there. The opening of the episode, there is a forest fire happening in a redwood forest, and it's so good. Superman freaking comes in there and catches a redwood tree after like it's burned and it's collapsing and it was falling down on top of an RV.
Yeah, he hasn't quite
trying
got
to
there
escape
yet.
the forest fire. Looks so good, Jordan like blowing himself around, trying to put out some fire, and he's really bad at landing. Yeah. Clark leaves to go see what's going on with Lois and leaves Jordan to the fire. He says he can handle it, gives him instructions on how to do that. Start on the perimeter, work his way in, which makes sense. So yeah, that's the most what he does, he's involved in the talk with Jordan. He goes with or he's involved in the talk with Jonathan. goes with Lois out to the Candace's dad's place.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he gets a good talking to by mom and dad. You know, I like the way they parent, and she's like, and Superman is like, or Clark, sorry. Sometimes you just say it back and forth. It's interchangeable. Clark is like, you don't speak to adults that way.
Yeah.
Which is true. You know what I mean? Like, you need to respect your elders, and they know more than
it's okay.
just by sheer experience alone. And I think we all learn that as we get older ourselves. and why we badmouth our parents.
We have the subplot, and I'll just jump to this to get it over with, is with Lana, Kyle,
right,
and Sarah.
You just hope your kids are better than you.
Oh, your mama hit you. And he's all upset. He doesn't ever ask
your parents
Sarah why
hope
she's
your
staying
kids
as a
are
partner.
worse
Like,
than you
why
were.
did she hit you? So then he goes to Lana, and he's talking to her, confronting her, and then of course Lana's like, yeah. And then we find out, Kyle finds out that what Sarah said, and that pisses Kyle off. And he goes back and, confronts Sarah about how when Sarah tried to commit suicide,
she says that she was just telling her she was being pushy
the whole time, trying to save her life when she found her.
And she smacked her.
Him cheating on her mom was none of her business. And she had no right to say anything with that. I think Kyle's been really good.
No, I
hate that they made Kyle cheat, but I feel like
it wasn't
they've done a good job
of
of
manipulation or anything on Kyle's part, in my opinion. In this moment, I think Kyle was actually written very well.
Growth, who's already the
alcoholic
in
this episode. I enjoyed everything that happened with them this episode.
I guess.
Well, it pushed his character for growth. I think, well, yeah, he's got no place to go but up, right? I guess. So he's been doing well this season, and I like the way he took care of and handled things this episode. He was mad at Lana for doing that, and then he was mad at her for it. He says, you are not allowed to weaponize my affair against your mother. Nothing that I did was her fault or this or that, and and then he says you can't do that, and then why did I lose my train of thought? Let's see, Kyle. Either way, like I said, I thought they did a very good job with this story. Oh yeah, so my thing was the reason he was saying that, the reason he brought it up about Lana. That's something in the right hands, parents would use as a manipulation tactic, and I don't think either one of them, and I don't think Kyle meant it in that regard. He didn't use that as a weapon against Sarah. He used it to show how much her mother loves her. You know what I mean? It was a tool of compassion instead of a weapon for manipulation, and I think it was done very well. That's where my thought was. I finished it.
And then, so the next big part here, and so here's what's ironic. Before this episode, I watched it on Wednesday. I was running
and
errands.
that's what drove them
and
to
I listen
the
to
diner.
a podcast that I love is
where
Comic Book
Kyle
Central.
was
It's a
mediating
really awesome guy.
between
We had him on the
Sarah
show years
and
ago.
Lana.
Big Superman fan. He's actually up in Columbus, or down in Columbus for you, up in Columbus for me. Yeah. His name's Joe. He actually had an interview episode with Wale Park. And, in the episode, Wale Park references, the episode is probably about a week or so old. I hadn't got a chance to listen to it. He references episode 4 having a little to do with John Henry. So I thought that was funny. I listened to that right before I had watched this episode. And we get
I listened to that
more with John Henry in this episode, as they talk about the weapons that were used to shoot Clark were based off some of John Henry's tech. And we kind of hold that thought. We kind of missed the Jordan part where eventually at the end we were going character. Grandpa decides that Jordan doesn't have to get a haircut, but he has like goggles and a helmet to help conceal it. And it kind of looks like it's referencing the comic book Superman American Alien, American Alien, where he's got the black shirt and the helmet and goggles. That was also briefly used in the Man of Tomorrow film. So,
yeah, I wanted to talk about this. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, he gives him something. He says, something to help conceal your identity and keep your hair in check. And he gives him what was really nice was an emotional. He gives him his father's flight goggles from World War II to help conceal his identity. And it was very nice. It was very emotional. And they go actual fishing after that. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do. You know what I mean? I don't expect it to be like Superboy or John Kent or nothing like that. I expect it to be, a leather jacket and a hoodie.
Like, I remember your age
and
how important
goggles
your hair
or
was,
something. You know what I mean? But maybe something a little more sleek, like a little more.
I mean, you don't mess my
hero
hair.
or tactical, like hopefully. You know.
So
what
now
I mean?
we're back to John Henry. John Henry finds that the tech that was in those things that shot Clark are similar to what he built on the thrusters on his back. So John Henry goes and meets his sister of this earth. And I love that first thing he says to her is, "I'm not your brother, I'm not your brother." And we have a really emotional moment later where, he's confronted by Bruno Mannheim and they threaten her. And I thought that was interesting.
They threaten her by placing her in a van with a bomb.
Oh, I still think she is.
I was thinking, now I'm not 100% sure, because obviously it could be a misdirect. I was thinking that maybe this is a sign that she is not, as we're still calling it, automatopoeia. Do you? I think it could be a misdirect, and she still is, or maybe it's a show that she isn't. But I still, I think it's still very, very up in the air. I still think it's very possible that she still is, with the idea that maybe this John Henry wasn't the bad guy. She could easily be manipulating the situation with her response when they meet the first time. And then with the fact that she was rescued from that bomb, may never have been in danger, using it as a manipulation tool to try and control John, because he comes back to Mannheim, and Mannheim says that everybody who is related to John Henry Irons will be dead if anything happens to him. So, yeah, Mannheim's pretty dirty in this. The thing that I do love, that I continue to love about this show, is these things aren't they're handled so well and resolved quickly within an episode or two, or even the same one. Like this episode specifically, John Henry was very upset with Clark and Lois for investigating Bruno Mannheim. He didn't want them to. He didn't want that to possibly, lead to him a discovery of him being alive on this earth, among other things. I mean, like the protection of Natalie is something he brings up. He needs to know
that would make me wanna,
what possible things John was into on this earth if he's going to raise his daughter here.
But he said Bruno Mannheim didn't discover
because he can't be
him because
he can't be punished and attacked for not being the person that people are thinking he is.
It was about, what do you call it? Him and Lana.
Yeah. So, but in what? It was because he was helping Lana. That's how they found out about him. And that's what I mean. Like they go right into that. You know what I mean? In another show, they'd have spent 2 more episodes not speaking to each other until they said,
I love,
as
you can tell the writing is going well. And I want to give more credit to Todd Helbing, the showrunner and head writer.
It was actually me.
He was like the head writing on The Flash. I know, especially during the early seasons, back when it was really good, and you could tell, before it got as melodramatic as it became. And I think it's just having a tight story. I listened to him on a podcast, Den of Geek, their DC podcast, had him on there talking about things, and he just knows what he wants to do when he creates his show and the drama and what he wants to bring, and it feels more realistic because they get things accomplished and move on. They don't dwell on it for days and days and stuff. So I really like this episode. I think it's probably one of the best just because of the diner scene. It's a highlight of the series.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a highlight. It's a highlight.
We talked
about this a little
bit before
so
that.
Far.
It was supposed to be 15 episodes.
There you go. It's a highlight of the series.
And I'm wondering when they did, they just distribute that budget.
And we've had some good highlights of Superman
action set
in this series,
scenes,
and a few of Clark, but this was definitely the best
so far. There doesn't seem like there's been anything that looks really cheap.
Yeah. Everything's looking good. Everything's being written so good. Like over the years, and you've heard something like back when Smallville was on the air, and then when these other shows were getting good viewership and making good money, that they would still divide that budget across the other shows. So that way they could still continue to pay for their other shows.
That's our review this week. It's not as deep.
I keep that money here, so with Superman and Lois.
We're all trying to get better.
Doing a good job with it.
Forward. So let us know what your thoughts. And don't go into any diners with Clark Kent. And remember,
look up in the sky.
We just want to say, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.